I just watched your video on shyness, and boy, I do have some commentary for you. Well, first of all, in the video, you start off by telling people how you discovered you were shy. From what I understand, you didn't necessarily discover it first. Somebody told you you were shy. You get the report cards, they say you're shy. Let me tell you something. Really, really, really shy people know it from the inside. They don't have to be told. They know they're shy. Okay? And I know this because when I was a young kid, I really was shy, and I knew it from the inside. Nobody had to tell me I was shy. I knew I was shy for a long time. It wasn't until I became a senior in high school that I became any kind of a real personality. So, yeah. The one thing you did point out that I will agree with is that when it comes to shy people, they're not alone. There are lots of shy people. There are probably people in your class that are shy. There are probably friends and family that are shy. I'm telling you, shyness is a big thing. So it's not like you're the only shy person. I will agree with you. There are tons of people that are shy. Even today, I have some difficulties. I tend to be shy at times. But you say there's nothing wrong with it. Oh, I totally disagree with that. If you have to report a crime, that's not a time to be shy. When you have a medical condition that has to be dealt with right away, that is not a time to be shy. If you have to have a dispute with a sales clerk, that is definitely not a time to be shy. Yes, it can be crippling, very crippling. So yes, there is a huge problem with being shy. All right, and it does have to be broken. But there are good ways to break it, and I will talk about that in just a moment. But I am telling you, it is a very big problem, and depending on the situation, listen, if you have to go to court, you don't want to be shy there. I promise you that. You ever get pulled over by a cop, the last thing you want to be is shy. You don't want to be super aggressive, but you don't want to be shy either. And let me tell you something, you face certain situations in life, you can't afford to be shy. So that's wrong. That's dead wrong. So I 100% disagree with you on that one. Okay? You were saying the first thing you should do is, if you're having to deal with something, practice with a small group first. I totally disagree. I totally disagree with you. I'm going to tell you what you really should do from the very beginning. There was a television program here in the United States called The Price is Right. It's still on the air. Drew Carey hosts it. I think he sucks. But if you'll go back to the original Bob Barker episodes and watch what that guy does, then emulate him in everything you're doing, you'll change your shyness in a second. Practice what he did. You know, when he stands there and says, hey, you're going to get cash and prizes, totally. Practice that. Hey, go through 10, 12 times a day. And if you do this, you'll get 20 or 12 prizes. And if you do that long enough, it'll become a part of your character, and you will explode in personality. That's the first tip. The second tip is have your facts straight. Okay? Now, I don't care whether anybody agrees with me or disagrees with me, but there is a Bible story. And I know a lot of people say, well, why are you bringing religion into this? Because I'm going to tell you that in just a second. But there's an actual Bible story where John the Baptist was there, and he walks up to this king, and he tells him that he goes in front of a huge crowd. This John the Baptist goes in front of a huge crowd and tells the king that he has committed adultery. Talk about bold. Those are just facts. That's written in the Bible. If you ever pick up a Bible, you read that story, you'll find out that that's a fact. John the Baptist did that. I can boldly tell you that because if you go to that Bible, you'll find that that story is true. It's 100% true. So, if you have your facts straight, nobody can dispute it. The problem with the shyness is that people tend to dispute the facts. Well, that is a fact. And if you go to that Bible, you read that story. It's really there, and all I have to do is read it. Let me tell you something. I presented a story on YouTube. I actually put a link in the description when I did the video. Okay, I had this video. I put a link in the description to an actual story about Norman Hurst, and his story was in the Seattle Times, if I recall correctly, and he had died of MRSA. That's a fact. And this story, if anybody wants to read it, it's there. He died of MRSA. The nurse that was attending him contracted that MRSA, and she killed over 20 people. Not intentionally, but she did manage to kill 20 people plus, okay, because she had the MRSA and she exposed these patients to MRSA. That is a fact. Anybody wants to look up that story can do so, and they'll read it, and it's a fact. Okay, and the poor nurse didn't even know she had MRSA until after all those people died. That's a fact. You can read it in the story. Read it for yourself. That's true. If you have your facts straight, no one can dispute it. But you got to be really sharp on that. Okay. All right. And then you say, everybody wants to hear you. Oh, no, not everybody wants to hear your opinion. Let's go back to the John the Baptist story. I guarantee you the king did not want to hear John the Baptist saying to him point blank, "You've committed adultery." You want proof of this? Look what the king did to John the Baptist. He had him beheaded. He first put him in prison, then later on he had him beheaded. The king did not want to hear that he had committed adultery. And he certainly didn't want a whole crowd to hear that he had committed adultery. So no, not everybody wants to hear your opinion. Now, I do agree with you on one point. You say don't compare yourself to others. That is absolutely true. You have to be yourself. Okay? But when I was telling you to be more like Bob Barker, that was the presentation style. The presentation style needs to be like Bob Barker, but you have to be you. I agree with that. Okay? And yes, you can be more assertive and you can be more confident. Study Bob Barker enough and you will become more assertive and you will become more confident. But you have to hold it to a certain level. You can't go beyond it. Alright? Be very prepared in your discussions. Have your facts straight. I mean to the decimal point, because if there's any leaks in it whatsoever, they will catch you on it. If you don't believe me, look at NBC Revolutions. They were talking about the TV show starts off with the power going out, and then they say, well, 15 years later, let me tell you something. If the power went out for real like that, those people wouldn't have lasted more than 3 years. I backed it up with a ton of facts, and people that started questioning me, I pounced them back with fact after fact after fact. After a while, they stopped smashing me, because they found out I would come back on them 100%. The fact of the matter is, NBC Revolutions is a joke. It is a farce. Nobody should watch it. They should be complaining about it. It's ridiculous. It's wrong to put on the air. It's stupid, and it's crazy. And I will back that up 100%. Anybody who wants to challenge me, you go right ahead, because I will challenge you back. I will smash every argument you have. I have the upper hand on this, so don't even think about arguing me on that one. Alright. Now then, you say, well, what's the worst that can happen to somebody? Well, if you make a mistake when doing a math problem in school, not a whole lot can happen. You might be a little embarrassed, that's fine. But let me tell you something. Let's go back to John the Baptist. You go get in the right crowd, and you make a presentation. You're making a theological presentation. In some countries, that can get you beat up, and it can get you killed. Let me tell you something. You don't want to be going to Syria and start teaching the Bible. I promise you, you start doing that, that can get you killed. You even try to bring a Bible to Syria, and they will absolutely throw you out. That is a fact. If you don't believe me, you can check it out for yourself. I'm telling you, you get into certain circles, you start teaching theology, there you go. So don't be saying they say, well, that's the worst that can happen. It can get you killed. It just depends on what the subject matter is and the way you're presenting it. Okay? And if you don't believe me, then take a look at the Christian minister, which I would not have called Christian. Okay? They were calling him Christian, but I wouldn't have called him that. He stood there and started burning the Quran, which is not a Christian thing to do. and the hatred that poured on him because of it, I wouldn't want to have been there. Just like the Chick-fil-A story. Chick-fil-A, whatever you want to call it. The simple fact of the matter is, the guy made an incredibly bold statement, and it came back on him. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of his statement was okay, but there was some parts of it that just went a little overboard. And I made an objection to that. I'm a Christian, and I made an objection to that. He went overboard. Some of the things he said I would stand by, but some of them I would not. And I'm a Christian. So, anyway. When it comes to speaking up, you've really got to have a lot of confidence. You got to say, look, I know the facts, I know them straight. That's when you speak up. If you can back up every single thing you say, you can say it. But you better back it up. And if you do make a mistake, be honest to say, I made a mistake. There have been a few videos that I've actually made myself where I had to go back and say, I'm going to eat some crow, I made a mistake. I'm not infallible either. And yes, it is a really good idea to get on YouTube and start, that kind of thing. But that's what I'm trying to talk to you about. You can be somewhat shy and still be outspoken. You have to decide when it's a good time to be shy and a good time to be outspoken. Okay? And you have to determine what the risk is to you. I mean, me doing this stuff on YouTube is not a big deal. When I get on YouTube, I am trying to desperately teach people how to be non-physically aggressive. You don't have to be physically aggressive to make your presentations. You don't have to aggravate somebody to the nth extent to get your point across. Okay? You don't have to be hateful or insulting. All you have to do is state the facts and back them up. I mean, even in this video, when I was making those bold statements about NBC revolutions, I am fully prepared to back what I say up. And if anybody wants to argue with me, then go right ahead, because I'll back it up. I 100% back it up. And sometimes I do fly off the edge. When I've got the facts and I can back everything up that I say, you betcha I fly. But yes, you do need to learn how to speak up. And yes, it can be a really severe problem if you don't stop your shyness. So, anyway, if anybody wants to emulate me in the line of my presentations, go right ahead. Might help. And if you want a little practice with me, if you want to practice with me in the line of debating or whatever, go right ahead. I'll be happy to debate you. And I will happily help you break your shyness right here. I'm not going to just give you some tips. I'm flat out telling you, you want to talk to me, I will talk back to you, and eventually you'll break your shyness. I tell you, I'm not very much of a shy kid anymore, and I stand by my convictions. Whew. Well, there you go. Look, I'm not a mean guy. I'm a tough guy. And I tell you what, I am solid rock on nails on certain things. And I will stand by what I say. Alright. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.